Hello and welcome to my show Bottom Line. I'm Prabhu Chawla. Today I'm going to discuss one of the most important political decisions which Vijay government, TVK government had taken in Tamil Nadu. It has shaken the basic Dravidian foundations of the state after 6 decades. It is about who will control temples. About 30,000 odd temples in Tamil Nadu. Some decisions were taken about how to manage the funds, how they will be used, who will use. Some kind of reforms have been introduced in Tamil Nadu Assembly by Vijay, the new Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. There are many questions being raised about this decision. Is it for real or it is just for optics? The question arises, when a devotee places a coin in a temple, Hyundai, does he believe it will build a marriage hall? Last week, the TVK government cancelled 46 projects worth rupees 245 crores, marriage halls and commercial complexes built with Hindu temple money approved by the previous DMK government. And the day before the actual cancellation was announced, Governor Rajendra Vishwanath Arlikar, an academic, an RSS person, in his very first address to the new government assembly, made something unmistakably clear. Temple money belongs to temples only. He was very clear, loud. And from his speech, I'm going to raise 7 questions or 6 questions. One verdict, I'm Prabhu Chawla, as I said. This is my bottom line. The governor spoke before the government acted. What did that signal? The sequence matters, and it has been almost entirely missed in the political commentary. Last week, one day before the cancellation, Governor Arlikar addressed the Tamil Nadu Assembly. In our constitutional framework, as you know, a governor's address is not a ceremonial formality. It is the government's own statement of intent, equivalent to a presidential address to the parliament. It carries the cabinet words. It is written by the cabinet, approved by the cabinet. It commits the administration to a direction, and on June 18th, that address placed Hindu religion and charitable endowments reforms at the top of the TVK government's founding agenda. It was its first assembly session where he was placing before the assembly its agenda for the future. What it contains? It meant auditing temple properties, digitizing recounts, recovering encroached lands, ensuring transport management of religious endowments. These were not bureaucratic platitudes. They were a founding commitment delivered from the constitutional throne of the state on day one. The cancellation of 46 projects on June 19th was therefore not a reaction to court pressure. It was the execution of a direction that the governor, is speaking for the TVK government, has already announced to the assembly. That distinction is the most important fact in this entire story. This was not just a judicial compliance, this was a policy. Vijay's government came in knowing that it wanted to do, and it did it in the first 48 hours in the assembly meeting. Now I'm raising the question. Question number 1. The courts had already ruled against some of these projects. Is TVK simply following judicial orders? What is the answer? This argument deserves a direct answer. No. The Madras High Court in January 2025 struck down the commercial complexes. A second bench in August 2025 quashed the 5 marriage hall orders. For 41 of the 46 projects were not individually court ordered to stop. TVK cancelled them anyway. The Supreme Court in September 2025 asked whether devotees donate to temples to fund marriage halls. It was a question, not an injunction. TVK answered it. Vijay declared it. That is the difference between a government that governs and the government that merely administers. The DMK had built these projects into administrative pipeline precisely because the courts had not yet universally prohibited them. The legal space still existed. Vijay chose not to use it. Going beyond what courts mandate, cancelling what was still technically contestable is a political choice which Vijay made. A consequential one, and it was made on day 1 of the assembly. Question number 2. Was the DMK fundamentally wrong or just legally reckless? That is a very important question, political question. The DMK instinct was not without historical logic. Tamil temples under the Cholas and Vijayanagaram were economic institutions, granaries, universities, hospitals, commerce and devotion coexisted. The HR&CE Act itself permits temple funds for educational institutions, and the Supreme Court had upheld this. But there is a line, and the DMK crossed that line. Marriage halls rented for commercial events are not temples. Shopping complexes generating rental incomes are not charitable endowments. The Madras High Court said it plainly, frankly. Quote, temple funds cannot be deployed for commercial ventures merely because these ventures might eventually generate revenue that benefits the temple. The DMK confused revenue generation with religious purpose. That is not a constitutional argument, it is an accounting argument dressed up as a policy. The court saw through it, and now Vijay has swept it away. TVK government has swept it away. Question number 3. What about the 34,401 temples that are struggling? Does this cancellation actually help them? Very valid question. This is the hardest question, in fact, and the one the political debate has most carefully avoided so far. Tamil Nadu has, as I told you, over 34,000 temples under the endowment fund. Most generate negligible income, priests wait months for their salaries, structures are crumbling, temple lands have been encroached upon and leased at the nominal rate for decades. Most to the political parties, the cancelled projects were, in theory, meant to generate revenue for exactly these temples. Now that the stream is gone, so where does rupees 245 crore go? The governor address gives the answer. Directly to the temples themselves. Restoration, heritage preservation, priest welfare, religious activities. The HR&CE Act already permits exactly this. Assisting financially weak temples is one of the Act's explicit authorized use of surplus funds. The legal pathway exists. The policy commitment has been stated. The governor promised digital accounts and audits. These promises are the measuring sticks. If 245 odd crore freed from these 46 projects reaches the thousands of small temples that genuinely need it, this will be remembered as a meaningful temple reform. If it disappears in the departmental accounts and bureaucratic hurdle, it will be remembered as a political theatre only. The burden proof rests entirely with the TVK and Vijay's government. Question number 4. Hindu organizations argue the real problem is state control itself over the temple. Is that a legitimate constitutional grievance? The answer? Yes, it is one of the most legitimate grievances in Indian constitutional history, and one every government has chosen not to engage honestly. Article 26 of the Constitution guarantees every religious denomination the right to manage its own affairs. The HR&CE Act subjects Hindu temples to comprehensive state control. Why? While mosques operate under own bodies and churches under their own governance structures. The courts have upheld the Act on the argument that it regulates only the secular administration of temples, not the religious practice. But let us be honest about what secular administration actually means in practice. The state appoints the executive officer of a temple. The state decides how surplus funds are to be used or spent. The state leases a temple's land. Man, administration is that total. The separation from religion is a legal fiction. And that this framework was not written by India's founding parliament. Its original architecture was drawn by the East India Company in 1817. Defined by the Colonial Justice Party, inherited by Congress, perpetuated by every Dravidian government that followed after that. In 2025, a devotee's offering to a Tamil deity is still governed by a colonial-era framework. That is not administration. That is inheritance, illegal inheritance. And it is an inheritance that demands a constitutional reckoning at this moment. Now, we move to the question number 5. Why has no government in 65 years of independence dismantled this colonial system? Answer is very specific, very clear. Because control over 34,000 temples, their land, their revenue, their political symbolism is too valuable to live or to surrender by any political party. The HR&CE Act is not just an administrative instrument. It is political resource to be used. Temple lands in urban Tamil Nadu are worth hundreds of crores. Appointments to temple trusts are patronage positions. The executive officer of a significant temple commands real institutional power. For any government in power, Congress, DMK, AIDMK, relinquishing, giving up this power or lever was a trade no one was ever willing to make. The result? Successive reform promises, successive administrative failures, and temples whose conditions are deteriorated precisely because the government that controls them has no institutional incentive to improve them. Vijay has now broken from this pattern. For now at least. These cancellations are the first declaration. But the test of the genuine dismantling is not cancelling projects. It is whether this government is willing to reduce the state's grip over temple administration itself. And that brings to the final and the most consequential question. Number 6. Is Vijay now paving the way for genuine temple autonomy? Loosening government control over temple management altogether? Answer is very difficult. This is where the story moves from the present to the possible or to the future. The signals are deliberate and sequential. The governor address on day 1 placed HR&CE reform at the top of the agenda. The cancellation demonstrated willingness to act against a predecessor legacy at political cost. The emphasis on digital accounts and other reforms signals a preference for transparency over opacity. Together, they form the outline of a government that wants to be seen governing temples differently than in the past. But genuine autonomy is a fundamentally larger step. It means amending and replacing the act itself. It means returning management of temples, at least in major ones, to elected trust bodies or community governance structures. It also means the state voluntarily surrendering the most politically valuable administrative inheritance it holds at now. No Dravidian government has ever moved in that direction, not once in 65 years. The question is whether TVK led by Vijay, a new political formation unburdened by the DMK-AIDMK legacy, led by a figure whose entire public identity is built on dismantling old system, is prepared to go where no Tamil government has gone in the past. Whether Vijay proceeds to take down the wall or simply repaints it in new colors is the question that will define this government's relationship with Tamil Nadu's 60 million Hindus. And perhaps the relationship with Indian political history itself. The devotees are watching. The courts have set the standard, governors have spoken. Now it is Vijay's move. That is the bottom line for today. For 65 years, Tamil Nadu's Hindu temples have been managed by a state apparatus that was not designed to serve them. It was designed to control them. Built by the East India Company, refined by colonial administrators, inherited and perpetuated by every elected government that followed. And that is the beginning of something. Whether it becomes the beginning of a genuine dismantling or the beginning of a new reform or control dressed in language of reform, only the next 5 years will tell. But for the first time in 6 decades, a government in Tamil Nadu is asking the right question. And in Indian politics, asking the right question out and loud from the constitutional throne of the state is often the hardest part. That was BottomLine today. Watch my video, subscribe, share, write your comment, good or bad, sweet or bitter. I wouldn't mind. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.